I decided to make a video to answer your questions because I know the answers are complex and I wanted to have a little more space to answer them more fully than trying to rush in a written response. And also, in a video, I can't overthink it like I can in writing. So, here are your questions. When did you know you wanted to be an English professor? That one is, for me, an interesting journey. I went to a community college when I was 16, and I was there for about 6 years. I was earning my liberal studies degree to become a second grade teacher. So I had the desire to want to be a teacher for as long as I can remember. I loved babysitting and playing with kids, and so I thought I would go into teaching. My mom works for Head Start, and she is an early childhood education specialist, and she was my teacher both at my church when I was little and also at my school that I attended, my elementary school. So my preschool teacher, and so it just is kind of in my DNA, I think, teaching. But again, I started off with the track of elementary school, second grade. As my education progressed and I received my bachelor's, I became a tutor in the Writing Center, and that opened me up to working with college students, essentially my peers, but also students who hadn't gone through the system yet. And so I had a lot of fun helping them navigate the system of education and free writing with them, and I learned so much and I loved it. So I had actually switched to wanting to teach high school because I realized that the adult population or an older population was something that I was more compatible with. And then as a graduate student at Fresno State, where I'm from, Fresno, I became a teaching assistant in their program, and I was given my own classes, my basic writing classes for first year composition students at the university. And I loved it. I loved making my syllabus. I loved picking out my books and coming up with assignments and activities. And I really felt like I had found my calling, my vocation, and it brought me so much joy. So I followed it. I became a graduate student teacher, and then I got hired at a community college. And now I'm at Ventura College after working in Fresno. So it was a gradual progression of me just following what brought me joy. I hope that answers your question. Number 2, what is the hardest part of your job as a professor? The hardest part is grading. I hate it. I hate the way that our system is structured with grades because I don't feel like they accurately reflect a whole lot other than a student's ability to follow directions and a certain skill set that they may or may not have brought into my class. So I definitely dislike grading. I feel like it is unfair. I know a lot of teachers who are moving away from grading and starting to use grading contracts for students who can decide what they want their grade to be based on how much work they would like to put into the class. So my goal for myself is in the next 5 years to move away from grades completely and to help students reassess their own writing and their own skill set and reflect on their own writing and skill set and set goals for themselves. So that would be the hardest part of my job is paperwork and grading, because it's stressful to read something beautiful that someone has written and then to have a criteria that includes things like surface errors. So I try to just offer encouragement for writers so they know how amazing they are. Number 3, what do you like best about teaching at Ventura College? I love learning. I love working with people, writers, and meeting people, and my colleagues are very inspiring. I find inspiration every day from people in my environment. For myself as a writer and just as a person, I feel like a better person because I teach. And I learn from people around me. From your experience teaching, what qualities do successful students in your course possess? I think that students who are willing to show up and to take risks and to be themselves and to ask questions and ask for help and help others, those are qualities of successful students. On a practical level, successful students are able to meet me during office hours or even introduce themselves over email, check in with me, to ask how they're doing, to kind of push themselves a little further. And then on a super practical level, successful students are able to understand what is required for them to take notes and to have good study habits and time management skills. I would say that study habits and time management skills are essential in college because you are learning so much and you're studying so many different disciplines. And so being able to focus on each one and see how they relate and use your time effectively to understand your own learning style and what speaks to you as a learner, and to do that. If it's like I like making videos, they help me learn, they help me hear my own voice, they help me process ideas. And so that's something that I would be doing also as a student, but as a teacher as well. What else? What are your expectations for students in this class? I really just want each of my students to get what they need. That's definitely the number one priority, and to hopefully communicate what their needs are. And I'm just here to offer support and guidance and inspiration and motivation and some love. We all need love all the time. And so my expectations on some ideal grand level are for students to show up and to try their best and to communicate what their needs are and to learn to trust their own voice, their own mind, their own writing voice. So it's a lot. How do you keep students engaged? That's something as a teacher that I've done a lot of professional development on. I really am learning different ways with COVID and having this screen as this mediator between us. I like to hug and say hi and greet people, and I can do all those things on the screen, but it's definitely a challenge for me to not be in the physical space or presence of someone. So I try to be mindful of how we learn. I know that it's hard for some people to speak up in the whole class dynamic. I know it was for me, so I'm mindful of that. I try to offer strategies that are practical and to actually do those activities in class with you. So we're practicing writing together, because that's the most important thing in our class, is cultivating the writing practice to learn to trust our mind. And then really just understanding that some people work well when they're in smaller groups. And so with Zoom, we have our breakout rooms, which is okay, but I really prefer that physical classroom. So keeping students engaged is tricky. I've kind of accepted over time that every student comes to class with their own way of seeing the world and their own experience that day, and respecting the space that people need to learn and offering tools that they can accept if they decide to. So it's an inside job, staying engaged. Sometimes I'll reach out in emails or little comments on assignments just to offer encouragement and check in. If I see a student is falling behind or missing assignments, just asking them how they're doing sometimes goes a long way. Let's see, the last one is, what additional resources do you recommend if I want more information about what I'm teaching? So I am teaching writing practice. You need a journal and a pen or a computer to get it out, and you just need to carve out time and space for that. The books that I love, that I gravitate towards as a writer, are anything written by Natalie Goldberg, because she's funny and practical and real. And then I'm looking around because I have so many books, and I always mention the same ones because they're awesome. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, I think, is super useful, not only for us as students, but us as humans, as writers, as thinkers, as human beings with these amazing, beautiful minds. And then I recently purchased The Fifth Agreement, which is also Don Miguel Ruiz, adding another agreement. But on a basic level, if you're working towards becoming a stronger writer, I would recommend checking out YouTube videos and on what writers do, strategies and techniques, looking into the craft of writing, and really taking a creative writing class to kind of let your imagination loose. And seeing what you like, finding one writer whose books you love, fiction, nonfiction, doesn't matter, magazine, book, online publication, doesn't matter, but finding a writer whose voice just speaks to you like a voice of an angel and devouring all their work. That is what I suggest. So thank you for creating this time for us. I hope that I've offered you something useful. Take good care.